I am not the educator I was 12 years ago. While I have always had a passion for sparking curious young minds and am great at establishing relationships with my diverse makeup of students, I didn't always have the tools or pedagogy to empower students intellectually, socially, emotionally, and politically. Yes, I taught my areas of knowledge well, and because of this, most of my students were involved in the learning process. But there were always a handful of students who were disconnected or were not performing to their true academic potential. Often, these students were students of color, first-generation college students, English language learners, or students who had more difficulties than others at home. Throughout the years, I would listen to students' apathy about a certain class, teacher, or administrator, and while they were all distinct cases, a commonality always struck me. Students felt that these individuals did not understand them, didn't care about them, and they found no relevance in what they were learning. My students' stories take me back to my own experiences in school. I was only one of 2 Latinas in my high school graduating class in Cincinnati, Ohio, and the only Latinx student in my elementary school. While I encountered some extremely inappropriate and ignorant comments from teachers and students over the years that I believe were due to cultural incompetence, I never was able to share my story or connect my unique experiences to my learning. I never truly knew how to study, how to take notes, how to set and achieve academic goals, how to organize my materials, my thoughts, which is one of the reasons why my high school GPA was a 2.7. I never thought teachers cared about me, as I was sent out into the hallway a lot as a middle school student. Referred to Tex-Mex by my sophomore world history teacher, was encouraged by my high school counselor to try community college first and let's see how you do. Had my senior math teacher look over my shoulder during the final exam, take it, sigh, and said, "Stick with theater." There were only 2 exceptions to this in all my years as a K-12 student, and that was from my senior English teacher and my high school Spanish teacher. The irony isn't lost on me that after all these years, all the classes I've taught have been in the humanities. I was a student who needed AVID. I was a student for whom AVID was created. I was the daughter of a Mexican mother who, although is one of the smartest and bravest people I know, was never able to practice as an accountant in this country because her college degree was from Mexico. She was always more educated than all her employers, but often treated as a second-class citizen. My father, the hardest working person I knew, was a non-traditional college student who, like my mother, knew very little about the college admissions process, but was the most supportive person when it came to my education. Even during a 4-year battle with cancer, he never let me quit school and urged me to keep going and pursue my dreams. Thanks to wonderful mentorships and determination, I graduated college cum laude with a 3.5 GPA and graduate school with a 3.97. You see, I always had the potential to do this, but needed that extra support that AVID is doing every day for students like me. You're all probably now wondering, okay, so how did she find AVID? 6 years ago, I had just resigned from my teaching position in an inner-city high school in Columbus, Ohio, where I taught AP and Heritage Spanish, as well as freshman world history, and was now moving to a place 9 hours away called Columbia, Missouri. My fiance, and now my amazing husband, was offered a position with the University of Missouri, which meant, holy cow, I'm moving to Missouri? While I was terrified to move to Missouri, I was happy that I was moving with a job offer with Columbia Public Schools. On the other hand, I wasn't thrilled with my Spanish 1 position. I felt like I was taking 10 steps backwards in a city where I knew no one except my husband, and was afraid I wouldn't be able to utilize all my skill sets, and thought I'd be bored and lonely. My first day of orientation with the world language teachers, a veteran teacher, and an AVID coordinator, Leslie Aguilar, popped into the room to say hello to some of her colleagues. She introduced herself, and little did I know that that moment would change my life forever, because that's when I first heard the word AVID. Leslie didn't speak for a long time, but the more she talked about AVID, the more I started to sit up in my chair. This is what we needed in Columbus. This is what I needed as a kid in Cincinnati. Why have I never heard of this before? Why is no one else jumping for joy? That year, I decided to join the AVID site team at my school, Smithton Middle School, and began learning more and more what this system is all about and how it is truly transformational. When our principal sent us an email that spring informing us that the coordinator position had an opening, I'd like to say I immediately jumped at the chance and applied. But that would be a lie. I knew my experiences working with migrant and urban students and marginalized students back in Ohio would make me a strong candidate. I knew I was organized, great at relationship building, yet I still hesitated to apply. I thought, I haven't even been in this district for a year. Who am I to apply? But fortunately, I had the encouragement from my husband, my mom, my sister, and my mother-in-law cheering me on and telling me, just go for it. 10 minutes after emailing my principal, I received a response that simply read, "Come to my office." I walked in, palms sweating, and all he said to me was, "I'm so glad you're here." The following year, I began my position as the AVID coordinator and had my work cut out for me. There were only 6 students enrolled in AVID at the 7th grade level, many failing grades, severe behavior issues, apathy and pessimism all around. And I'm not just talking about the students. I knew what AVID could be if it had the right leadership. I saw it through my other coordinators and colleagues at other schools in the district. Why was it not flourishing here? Fortunately, my then new principal, Chris Drury, and district AVID coordinator, Shanna Dale, believed in me more than anyone ever has in all my years as an educator, and appointed me the AVID 7 teacher for the following year. They also introduced me to 2 of the best people I know and my dear friends, our AVID 8 teacher, Jason Novak, and our AVID counselor, Rain Fick. Together, with our site team, a lot of fidelity, patience, and hard work, we are a dynamite system and more than I could have ever hoped for today. Our AVID 7 and AVID 8 students have not only dramatically increased their GPAs, but the confidence and the poise that they have is infectious. Our classes have more than quadrupled in size with qualifications of an AVID student. They are true leaders of our school and are an inspiration to me every single day. These students are impeccable public speakers. They have incredible goals that they're getting closer to obtaining every day. They survived a global pandemic and virtual schooling. They care about one another. They bring each other up. And 4 of our very own AVID 7 students are now published writers in the Columbia, Missouri Diversity Celebration booklet. They're awesome. I'd like to mention that all 32 Columbia Public Schools and all the private schools in the city were encouraged to submit their students' writings. And our AVID 7 class had more publications than any other class in the city. This is AVID. Most recently in March, our AVID students planned, directed, and implemented a school-wide AVID college and career fair that brought more than 21 local businesses, several colleges and universities, different organizations, and 45 volunteers that came to talk to our 500+ students about all the pathways, opportunities, and possibilities that await them in their future and what they need to do to get there. My students welcomed our adult guests, gave them tours, stuffed goodie bags, wrote cards, and exemplified the professionalism and confidence that AVID brings to them. One was even interviewed by the news, and over our adult volunteers would ask me, "Are they seriously 7th graders?" Now our community sees what we do every day. This is AVID. Now that Smithton Middle School AVID is in solid hands and will only continue to grow and make big differences, I know that it's time for me to pursue my lifelong dream of obtaining my doctorate. This past May, I began my doctoral studies at The Ohio State University, in their Educational Leadership and Administration program. My final and major goal is to bring AVID to my hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio. While I will miss my AVID site team, my students in Columbia Public Schools dearly, I know that we are forever bonded as an AVID family. I will forever be grateful to my mentors, my friends, and my AVID family, as well as my students, for helping me get to this point and become the teacher that I am today. Thank you for embodying everything that is AVID. Thank you.